paper. Thought it might be useful for research
I'm
and
going
for
back to
entertaining.
bed. I don't read.
Mhm. If you
Just
ever
for
want to
reference,
learn, you can ask.
7:30 in the morning-ish. I'm good, thanks. She goes back off to bed, but the rest of you will have heard the commotion downstairs, and if you weren't already awake, are awake now.
Whoever just so happens to have their bedroom next to mine, they could probably hear, like, just moving around, like, furniture and just clumsy movement in the bedroom.
We don't know where.
It's kind of up to you guys.
The upstairs hallway does smell like incense. When I wake up, I start my prayers.
Anything interesting in the paper? Because Royal will sit down and crack it open and browse it.
As you pop down, there's a few things of minor note, but nothing of particularly major interest. Somebody popped up in the river, floating body, as yet unidentified. It appears to belong to an orc. Other than that...
The funnies, more importantly.
Sorry?
The funnies in the paper?
The funnies?
The comics.
Yeah, the comic strips.
Right, okay. That's not a phrase I have ever heard in my life.
Before it.
Regardless, you will also see a note on the Magus Incarnate now taking responsibility for security for the city between the 8 hours of 5 and 7 a.m., as it is believed that these are the hours in which smuggling is most common. Jeston Grenworthy has got engaged to a lady of the Lockmond family. Sorry, to a lady of the Jorvance family.
Jeston Grandworthy?
Jeston Grenworthy, yes. The Grenworthys are humans. Weirdly enough, the Jorvance are, for the most part, dwarves. So it's quite unusual for there to be interracial marriaging there. Other than that, yeah, not much going on.
Does the paper list obituaries?
Does indeed. And there are a few worth mentioning.
I would like to peruse them.
Okay, so you come down, obviously you see...
Royal will...
Yeah.
Yeah, Royal will split the section out if asked and pass you just the obituary page.
There are a couple of obituaries for merchant folk.
Thank you.
And one mentioned for a very old owner of a chandlery. He sort of 6 generations of chandlery, and he really progressed the business onwards. 130 years old, this halfling was. Master Pewson. No, not Master Pewson. We know who Master Pewson is. It's not him. Master Raylon. So Reylon, owner of the chandlery, passed away last week. Yeah, that's all.
Are you looking for anyone in particular in the obituaries?
No. When I left Nazugori, I was instructed to check in with the temple here when I had a chance. If they are performing services, it would be a good time to go and introduce myself.
The city's big enough that there's 3 or 4 funerals a day.
I'll wait for someone who seems important enough for us to bother with.
In the city.
I think it's fair to say at this point you would have all made your way down the stairs. Even Hardfingers sort of comes down, takes a look around. I'll go out and get us some breakfast. Vanishes off.
I still wouldn't have come down.
No? Why not? What's he doing?
He's kind of like with the broken and fucked up furniture and stuff in the bedroom. He's kind of like reshuffling them and reorganizing them, and he's just kind of keeping himself busy. Like he's not used to being around other people, so his first thought isn't to go socialize. Like, yeah, so he's just kind of, yeah.
When Cinder comes down the stairs, he noticeably has like, I don't want to say it's like black soot, but it's noticeable that like he has like last night he was very like clean, not really like dressed for like a meeting, but when he comes downstairs, he visibly looks like he's just been working like in a forge, but obviously there's nothing there, and so he just comes down. He's like half dirty, like his eyes are like barely awake. He probably didn't get a lot of sleep last night.
Rufus would have made his way down as well, and this early in the morning, especially inside, he doesn't have his hat on, so you see kind of like a little bald patch on top of the head with the gray hair kind of on the sides, and I said before he heads down, he would have kind of looked towards Aster's door, checked his little pocket watch just to kind of clock the time, and then he would have head down. But yeah, as he comes down the stairs and he's lighting his pipe and kind of looks towards Royal and just says, "It sounds like there was quite the commotion this morning. Everything all right, dear?"
Yes, it's just the paper. I bought it for the next week.
Good idea.
I wanted to
Information
keep
is always a good thing.
Yes, most of the useful stuff is never in the paper, but it has moments.
Clearly, you don't know where to look then.
I know where to look. It's usually with actual people, as fun as reading is.
Well, agree to disagree in some instances. And he'll just kind of plop up on a little chair, and if any part of the newspaper is laying about, he'll just kind of...
I mean, Royal Hogs are probably done with it. They, like, skimmed, realistically, so
Yeah.
it's probably light, except for the obituary section that...
Yeah, so he'll just
July
kind of
has.
pick it up. Yeah, pick it up, and then just kind of take a look.
Nonary.
I used to.
Go ahead again.
Go ahead.
Nonary would arrive shortly after him, as he seems to be continuously casting precipitation as he sort of floats down, cleaning the stairs of any dust or any other sort of dirt or grime on them as he greets everyone else. Cape still on, holding onto a book. Not book, but a mushroom cap in one of his tentacles as he greets them and looks to Royal, who is now also green, as he himself is now pink again. I see you've changed.
Oh, yes.
I hope it is a good change then.
It's a change.
Is everyone here?
No, Aster's not down, and the Hot Fingers went out for breakfast. I'm sure she'll come back soon.
I see. I believe it best then if I retrieve our other companion.
Yeah, I suppose we want to get to chatting before we've had food. Probably go grab him.
Yes. That is a good idea. As Nonary would float back up and try heading over to Felix's room.
Asta's room.
Come on,
Joshua,
Josh.
fix your shit.
Come on.
Too many characters.
Too many
There you
characters.
go.
Who's Felix?
Who's Felix? I don't
That's the
know.
eighth
I don't know
person.
you. We're strangers. My character's name is A-Game.
Regardless,
It's
Nonary,
strange,
obviously you
isn't
get
it?
up the stairs and Asta, your door is closed, but somehow I'm sure presence is made known.
Yeah, so, like, you hear, like, the shuffling inside the room, and you hear Asta just, like, muttering out, like, just talking to himself, just kind of muttering about. And then all of a sudden you just hear, like, it completely go quiet. And then for, like, a couple of seconds, nothing. And then the door, like, slowly opens, and you just kind of, like, see his, like, head out, like, just a little slit of the door. Hello?
Good morning. Are you well?
Yeah. Well as anyone could be in one of these situations, which I am very accustomed to, of course. This is all very normal. How are you?
I'm doing fine, but I believe I'm a bit more worried for your well-being after hearing that.
Why would you be worried about me? I said I was fine.
I can understand one often wanting to hide their own emotions. I myself cannot hide them very well, as you can see. But either way, I believe it best if we go downstairs.
What's downstairs?
Everyone, well, mostly everyone, is downstairs.
Oh. Okay, 1 second. And he closes the door, and you hear more rummaging. And then he, like, steps out the door. Yeah, let's go then. To everyone. Yes, who was from yesterday. Yes, let's go. And then he'll just walk off.
I'll slowly follow behind.
As you guys get down the stairs, the door sort of like claps open, and bustling through are Hot Fingers and a young boy. The boy you have met yesterday. They wasn't introduced to you very well. And sort of Hot Fingers sort of says, "Oh, just put them down on the table and then get out, and you can take one bun, but no more. I'm watching you." And Case sort of turns around and, "Hi, I'm
Oh,
Case and I'm going." And then he sort of puts a large
Okay,
piece of
bye.
paper on the table, and spreads it out, and you see lots of drawings all over it. And then he puts his hand into a big brown paper bag, and you see him take a pastry, and then he sort of puts it behind his back, and he puts his hand in. And before he gets it even like an inch within the bag, Hot Fingers just sort of claps a hand down on the edge of the bag, and, "Oh, I said one bun. If Lem wants to eat, he can bloody well filch some himself." And with that, he sort of looks around. I'm going.
Bye.
Definitely toss him a kismet.
Oh, thanks, my lady.
Uh,
I love these.
Royal Resort. Two. Give him one for Lem.
Give him another one for Lem.
Yep. He sort of pockets one, mouses the other. You're unsure that the second one will get to Len, but you never know. But what's spread across the table are blueprints of the Peveron household. So it says Peveron household in big letters. And you're all sort of greeted with this. Around the corners of all of the blueprints are sticky finger marks, smudges. There's a current on the edge of one of the pieces of paper. And Hot Fingers turns around and, "Case got me hold of that this morning. If it's not the Peveron household, then, well, I can't be of much help. He asked another person who asked another person, but as far as I know, I mean, it's all left, right, and upside down to me, isn't it? I think that one says
But let's do it.
Kachard." And she points to the middle.
What does it actually say? What's the middle room on it?
Courtyard.
Courtyard.
Courtyard. There we go.
Yeah. And then written up at the top, it does say Peveron household. And it actually, there's a schedule on it for when it will be built. So you assume these were the blueprints that were created before the building of the house. They're dated 85 years ago, so there may be some changes. Who knows?
Wow.
But then Hot Fingers sort of leaves her bun on the edge of the piece of paper and turns around and I told you I'll get them. There's enough buns for everyone. Go on, help yourself. Help yourself.
Royal pulls one out and is chomping on it as they look over the floor plan. They kind of let out a whistle. Heavens are definitely doing quite well for each other. This was the initial floor plan.
It's a big ass. What use is this piece of paper to you?
Not sure.
Well, it's extremely unlikely someone is just going to hand us what we want. I mean, give or take, a couple months, if we had the time frame, it would probably be doable to get someone to do that. But on short notice, we're either going to need to get someone to navigate inside after we're let in to where the bedroom is when she's left it, or go through a side entrance. And this shows all the side entrances.
There's 19 bedrooms in the Peveron household. How's a piece of paper going to help you with that?
So many bedrooms.
Well, you can generally tell which one's the fanciest by looking at the side of them.
Third floor, left-hand side. It's the one. It's the one with the dark red curtains. That's where the lady lives, at least.
Perfect. Third floor, corner.
Royal, have you done this before? You seem very knowledgeable about this topic.
Done a third floor? No. Gotten someone to give me a ring before? Yes. But like I said, a couple months time scale would be preferable.
We don't have that.
Usually with enough time to just give things to me. I'm very convincing.
Cinder's just gonna sit there and look at you. He'll sort of keep his eyes on you, grab a bun, just put it in his mouth, and then he's just gonna go start working on all the broken fucking furniture. And he's just like, "I'll just leave it to you guys. I don't know what I'm doing in this situation."
I mean, this is all a little bit in the future anyway. I think our pressing thing we're supposed to do is turn those trade documents in.
Out of game, this was the pressing thing. Today was the day we're supposed to get it done.
Well,
at least according.
She said yesterday
today
was good
is
for
one
everyone.
of the days.
Right?
Today was one of the days we could get it done, and they would like it done as quick as possible. If she continues to do her thing every day of this day of the week, every week, she will leave it alone in her room. And they would like it quickly, but technically we could put it off.
On the 5th day of every 10 day, the husband goes away for 24 hours and she takes off the ring. I don't think Kalana gave the impression that you could wait till next 10 day.
Okay. So, we'll have to do with that today.
At least she certainly didn't intend to.
Okay.
I'm gonna put one of the. I know it might not look like it based on Asta's costume, but he actually has pockets. And I'm gonna put one of the buns in my pockets.
I mean, realistically, she probably goes out more evening time. Like I said, we could go give everything a look over now, though Hot Finger seems to know where most of everything is. From the sounds of it, most of you aren't very good at... Oh, go ahead.
She looks at you and sort of, I've been in the house 6 or 7 times. Wouldn't want to traffic into the lady's bedroom.
Pretty mediocre then?
Oh no, security's tight as. I've been in twice as a cook's maid, once a lady's maid, once a scullery girl, chamber pot girl once, and I went in down the chimney once. Don't recommend that. They lit the fire when I was halfway down. Absolute nightmare.
They hire a lot then, sounds like.
It's more that there's enough servants there that, one is as recognisable as the next, really. The right costume. I always say the right hat is what gets you in. You've got to have the right hat.
Does the family worship at any particular temple?
Oh. Well, whilst I don't know much about temples, I mean, they probably attend the propers, you know what I mean? So, on the midwinters and the midsummers and all those sorts of festivals, they probably go to the right constellation places, but other than that, I don't know. Do goblins do, like, special worshippings?
Well, Admiral, do they?
It depends on, like anyone else, it depends. It depends on your clan, it depends on where you live. Someone who's trying to keep up an air of respectability might want to blend in a little bit more than someone who is part of the lower echelon, as it were.
All of you would know that traditionally the constellation is worshipped by almost every family, every noble family in most cities. But as far as you know, the goblins don't turn to any gods in particular. A lot of the nobles, it's quite traditional to worship Eridanus, the god of trade and wealth, especially those involved in merchant weaves. But, they still will pay attention to the festivals of all the other gods.
Hot Fingers, since you've had many job opportunities at this estate, would you be able to also help us get those same job opportunities at this estate?
She sort of looks around and... You don't look like much for one of disguises. And she looks over at July and... You might stand a chance. She looks at Nonnery and just shakes her head. It all depends, Like, if you can blend and you've got the right hat, then sure, but in the nicest way possible. I'm not sure all of you are as good as each other at blending. You're green. She points at Royal.
I would be able to go in with July. I have ways of blending in.
Most definitely. They are a goblin family as well. Lots of goblin servants too. They do like their own kind, if you don't mind me saying. I don't mean to say that they're, exclusive or discriminatory, but they're kind of exclusive and discriminatory.
Racist.
What did you say, Darth?
Racist.
Oh, racist! I thought you said trade this! I was like, trade what? No, I wouldn't go as far to say that, but they prefer their ownses. And in all fairness, lots of the nobles prefer their owns. It's kind of just the way they are. Insular people, Whereas on the streets, you don't get much choice. You take what you're given. A baker this morning was a Loxodon.
If they are a goblin family and they prefer their own, I would only have to do minimal disguising. It wouldn't be that difficult to blend in. And again, if July is there with me, that could... 2 pairs of eyes are always better than 1.
She looks at you. Do you need a hat?
Hat. And just kind of reach back and flip it back and pop the cap, the bowler cap back
that's
on.
not going to work. You look like a detective. That's rubbish. And then she goes over to the sort of to the side of the room and then dashes up the stairs. And a few moments later, she comes down with a sort of burlap sack and starts tossing out sort of, here's a maid's hat, here's a postman's hat, here's a chimney sweep's hat. That one's quite good for a scullery girl. And then she sort of throws one over towards you, and that could work for you. Maybe, if that's your kind of thing. It's a sweep's hat, It's good. Cleaning and sweeping's great because no one ever looks at your face because you're always looking down at floors. You know what I mean?
I can make it work, and I'll take my bowler cap off and.
Yeah, that's more like it.
May I ask, just because Royal's green, couldn't they still disguise themselves as a servant and come along? It's just that I can change my form, but I'm not much of an actress. I'd feel with experience backing up the Admiral.
I mean, she does kind of stand out. But maybe an exotic servant? Oh, I don't know. They do like a big party when the woman of the house and the man of the house are gone. Do you know what I mean? The children, they do like to throw various parties. So perhaps in that situation you might be able to enter, maybe even as a guest. If you've got a guest hat. I haven't got any guest hats.
You can probably find a guest hat.
It's just a hat that says guest.
It just says guest on the front.
Well, it is worth mentioning that the nobles of parties, they do tend. This is sort of the era of the top hat, the bowler hat, the bonnet, the bow.
One of the fancy hats where they killed all the birds for all the feathers.
Yeah, plenty of feathers in the hair, headpieces, etc. It's very rare for one to go with their head unadorned unless they have very fancy hair.
I mean, the finer points of the disguise, which makeup can do a lot, all begs the question of exactly what our plan is for once we're inside. How do we get to the bedroom? Because if we can have our dear detective friend here being a chimney sweep, he could potentially be allowed to go through, but that hinges on him being a very convincing chimney sweep.
She didn't mention chimney sweep. The hat she's given you is more for the regular floor sweeping. Perhaps you're cleaning the areas of the house.
Cleaning. Cleaning works. Yeah, any form of cleaning works fine. You just have to be convincing enough to be led up to the third floor and do all of the rooms.
Or just disappear and reappear. You look like you're good at that. Just sort of disappear into a shadow and appear somewhere else.
On the topic of that, how high is the third floor? Hot figures exactly.
About 9 halflings.
Run some quick math and guesstimate about how much that is. Just what? Probably about
28
feet.
Yeah, about 28 feet. 29 feet.
Well, if we can avoid notice outside via that window, I also could either get myself up there or send one of you up there.
I do have a grappling hook for getting
It would be necessary for this way of getting up there.
Would I be too inconspicuous if I fly atop there?
With all due respect, Nunnery, a giant flump, a giant pink flump that is, what is it, 9 halflings in the air might attract more attention than what we're trying to accomplish here.
So you'll be able to probably get through the locks on the windows, or
Nunnery, how big
my
are
way
you?
goes through the locks.
How big am I? I'm small-sized.
So what, a foot? A couple of feet? As the main ball?
Let me see.
Sorry, I don't know really how else to... Well, yeah, I mean, how much of the height is... Because I know you're like 3.5 feet, but how much of that is tentacle?
Yeah, I'm like...
Right.
How many halflings are you?
How many?
0.8, I think.
Anything but the metric system.
She looks at you and... I mean... Maybe you could do something to be a bit less visible? Or a bit inconspicuous, if you know what I mean?
Well, I suppose I could cast invisibility. I often only use it when I need to run away. But I think it could work for this as well.
Oh, yeah? Invisibility would be quite useful for either sneaking through the main part of the house or going up the outside through the window.
It'd be faster to go through the window.
Probably, especially if we have someone invisible, so they wouldn't be obvious to the outside.
Our finger sort of sits back, bun in hand, sort of stickiness on her fingers, and starts to... She looks round and... I don't mean to be rude, but have any of you done this before?
Nope, not at all. I haven't even been to the city before.
Oh, dear.
Find this.
Stolen something. You know. Pilched. Pilfered. Nicked. Taken. Stolen. Borrowed. Without giving back. Any of that stuff.
Wait, what was the last one again?
Borrowed without giving back. No?
Like I mentioned, generally with enough time, people just give me things. It's much more convenient than
but
having to work out these
none of
entire
you
plans.
have just sort of snuck in, grabbed it, and snuck out.
Once or twice on a case, if need be. I try to live a little bit more on the straight and narrow.
On a case? Like sliding?
I mean,
She does sort of
In
an
my
image of a
time,
skateboarder. Like, she doesn't understand what you mean by on a case.
Since my retirement, I guess you could say I've been a detective, dear.
Oh. Oh, I don't normally trust your types. I told you look like a detective. It's because you are. Imagine that. Wow.
excellent instincts, Hotfinger.
Well, she sort of looks at you all and... I don't mean to be funny, but... Maybe your best bet's just being you. You're quite the exotic group. Maybe not all of you, but like some of you, just turn up and be you. Maybe you'll manage to talk your way in. I don't know, but I'm just saying that I can't see you guys doing the sneaky, sneaky, creepy, creepy. Do you know what I mean? I'm just maybe you. And she points at Rufus, but I'm not seeing it. I'm just saying. With that, she sort of...
My stars can help me sneak by. And find the ring.
Your stars? Would you pray to
Yeah.
them or something?
No, they're just there.
Your stars are just... Oh, you lot are weird.
We are.
I mean, I'm happy to be a distraction. I never mind going in through the front door. But if Rufus is reasonably good at that, and we have the ability to turn him invisible, it might be easiest to send him up that way, and then perhaps one of us can be a distraction at the front door while he's doing that.
Invisible's invisible. That does sound pretty good. And you would make a great distraction. You are green.
We'll just like push him up to the window.
Oh, like I mentioned, we don't even need to do that. If I can be there when he goes up initially, I can send him up there. I'll have to get his way down, because I'll have to go to the front to be distracting, but...
What?
Not necessarily. If we're just sending him at the window, we don't need a distraction. Then he just gets it and we leave.
Well, we might also need a distraction just in our back pocket, just in case things do tend to go awry.
Begging your pardon, was it Cinder? Was that the one? The window ain't not on the street, mate. They've got the grounds. You've got to get into the grounds before you go up to the window. It's the full estate,
So I
you know? They got guards and perimeters and all them things. No one gets onto the estate unless they're meant to be there. Or they've got a good at. Or they're invisible.
Well, that's where a combination of, I think, invisibility, along with a combination of disguises, and I believe you said that the children there like to have some parties.
Oh, they'll be throwing a party, all right. A big one. They always are.
Well, if I may, you, Royal, and possibly Aster and Cinder, and maybe even Nunnery, if you can be that distraction, kind of tonight's entertainment, as it were. And then July, she could pose as a gardener or a maid or something, and that way I could have some help on the inside.
Entertainment.
In my time, if I may be so bold, Nunnery, the wizards I've known or the magic users, you folks, you lot typically have some sort of tricks up your. Normally, I'd say sleeves, but I guess I'll say tentacles, and to just kind of dazzle the 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 viewers.
Hmm. Nonry will use his telekinetic invisible mage hand to pick up one of the food stuffs and kind of just put it next to his face. Something akin to this. And is this entertaining?
I think you might have to follow Royal's lead on this one. Um,
Can you juggle that way?
I have it move kind of just like in a circle in the air, just so like.
Hot Fingers
throw
is-
it and catch it.
Hot Fingers is fascinated by this floating bun. Just like her jaws on the floor.
I'll point to Hot Fingers and say, well, she seems thoroughly entertained and distracted.
That's mental.
The rich little children might have slightly higher standards.
I doubt it.
No offense, Hot Fingers.
I doubt it. I ain't seen nothing like that in any party I've ever been to.
How
I mean,
many
just look at
parties have
him
you been to?
and look at. Well, how many parties have I been invited to? None. But I've been to plenty of noble parties. Although I'm usually, doing the. Well, the money's
We've
good.
been over that. Right?
If we can procure some nice, entertaining outfits for most of the group, we can certainly go in and be a distraction, cover you.
I can help with outfits. So, I've got this girl. She's a friend of mine, right? Her name's Amanda, and basically, she runs silks and cloths to local tailors. CJ's Enterprise. They do like all this sort of standard. It's like a fancy shop. Sometimes people want to dress up as funny things that they ain't, especially kids, at parties and stuff. And so she runs cloths to them, and they make them, and they play dress up exactly. She's always able to get me all sorts of funny stuff. I could probably manage to. I could take you guys around the back of the shop. We could have a little chat with her, and you can see what you can find, and. I mean, we've never dressed up one of you, and she points at Nonnery, but I'm sure that we can make stew.
We can find a fancier cape that'll go with whatever the rest of us decide.
Yeah. Now,
I do not think my cape would like to be replaced.
This cape, it could just probably be a little flashier.
I mean, does it need to be? I mean, look at the... And then she just points to the bun, and she's like... I don't think anyone's going to be looking at the cape. I'm not going to lie. But, you guys, I'm sure you know. Speaking of which, how did you all get in this mess?
If you're asking for specifics, that's a very big question for a young girl. If you're asking in a general sense, I guess blackmail would.
Vague. I don't really mind. I'm just kind of where you're from, what you're doing, why are you here, how'd you get here, what happened, why are you still here, all of them things. Just anything really. I mean, we met last night, and obviously I know a little bit. I mean, I knew about you, and she points to July, but it's still it's a weird group, don't you think?
Cinder will sort of just will just say, I liked a girl, and that is literally why I'm here.
That stuff gets sticky and messy very quickly, and I don't mean in a good way.
Not that.
Love is all sorts of confusing, apparently. I
Yeah.
do my best to stick away. Besides,
But
boys
I
are pretty
also
thick at
wasn't
this age.
supposed to be here, so I don't know why I'm here.
Well, you're still here. It's a start, I guess.
Well, if I don't, then people that I care about are gonna get tortured or killed.
Oh, that sounds like
Something would
Kalana.
happen to them.
And
Something
before,
I don't want to happen to them.
and before you were here, what were you doing?
Living in a village. That's about it.
Do you remember I said spiffix and vagues? You doing lots of the vagues and not much of the spiffix. If I'm being honest.
He sort of like starts like stammering, where it's just like, you already know. He'll sort of just like sort of in his hand will just create like a whole bunch of runes in his hand. He's just like, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I did. This is what I still do. That's it.
Do they do anything?
He'll sort of close his palm, and then the chains will sort of appear, like will start to appear next to her, and like begin to start wrapping around her. And he'll say, yeah. Or they can do other things.
Different.
Like,
So you're a chain whisperer, all right? And then she turns.
I can do other things. But,
a chain whisperer and other things.
And then sort of shrug, and he'll just go back to work.
She turns to Aster and, what about you? You got stars, you said, right?
You can just kind of see like panic in his eyes and in his face. He just kind of points at the corner of the room. Look over there, and casts fairy fire as 4 stars like appear in a square, and then little stars like glisten down, like covering the area, and he bolts upstairs.
Well, I mean, as distractions go, that wasn't bad. Look at that. Shy one, though, isn't he? Bit weird.
It's like a little deer.
A deer?
Just runs away.
A deer?
They scare easy.
Oh.
Guess,
Yeah, like the animal.
And it seems slightly more flattering than my initial thought, which was rabbit. So.
Oh, I know rabbits. Yeah. What about you? I mean, apart from the changing faces thing, and she talks to July. What got you here?
Change in faces thing, as you so kindly put it, is why I am here.
I can see why
You
Kalana
all
might want the
are aware. I'm sure you all are aware of how society views changelings, and if the Temple of Lacerta were to find out what I am, I doubt they would keep me in such a trusted position. People who are dying want to trust that who is sitting with them is who they see.
You're a temple girl.
I was threatened that I'm a cleric, yes, of Lacerta.
Oh. When there's time, do you think you could say some words to me, ma'am?
Of course, darling.
She died a couple of years ago. It's hard business what she does. Hard business.
Did you have fond memories of her?
Sorry, what did you say again?
Did you have fond memories of her?
Well, in the daytime, she was good to me. She smelt nice as well. She had pretty jewellery. Yeah.
I turned blue.
I just love how there's no explanation. She looks at you and
As it should be.
sort of shakes her head, and then looks again at Royal and looks back at Nonnery. Well, anyway, if you could, that'd be much appreciated. And you seem to have a bit of nass about all this. You said people sometimes give you things. Are you
Yeah.
Are you a working girl?
Oh no.
Oh, because people gave me
mean-
ma'am things sometimes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I do think a few people over the years have probably liked me in that way, but generally I'm plenty convincing without that.
And
I
what were you doing before this?
rubbing shoulders with the high society in Zamir.
Rubbing shoulders? Do people pay for that?
It's a figure of speech.
Oh.
If you know the right way in with the right people, at a party, you're rubbing shoulders with them.
She sort of looks back to July, who she now sort of really trusts because she said she was a temple girl. Is she speaking in code?
No, darling, she's just using fancy words. I do have a question, though, Royal.
Mm.
Has it been a long time since you've been to the Fae?
I've never been that I recall. I came to the cities when I was a child. I grew up in Zamir.
We have that in common, then. I was not born there myself.
Used to city life these days.
When you turn back,
But
Hot
more
Fingers
fun.
is gone.
Oh, she's a quiet one, isn't she?
I mean, that's probably how you survive if you're in her position, so at least she's very good at it.
She knocks on Asta's door.
She can, as she's like getting close to the room, she can hear like the muffling and like the moving around and stuff. It's the same kind of thing that happened to Nonnery before, and then like it'll stop, and then a couple of seconds later he'll like peer up in the door a little bit. Hello?
I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. I brought you something. If you don't, if we can talk.
He'll open the door as to invite her in. Maybe uncomfortable. Oh no, he's just that's a drow joke that we play on each other. Yes, I know what a drow. Yeah, so that's just what we do. Did you like it?
It was very pretty and very distracting. If you don't mind me saying, that might come in very useful one day. But
Thank you.
yeah, and she hands you a Kesmint, and I'll filch one of these off the nice temple lady. Yeah, they've been making me feel better. Maybe they'll make you feel better. I can't help but notice that you're a bit like Case Quickfoot, we call him. He don't do well with lots of people.
What? I'm fine with lots of people. They're great. You can never have too many people, as I've never said. Yes.
Well, be that as it may. You know, they're all doing their own version of trying to work it out, you know. We all are. Just bumbling by. None of us really know what's going on. Anyway, don't tell the others. And with that, she sort of pulls the board to your window away and slips out the window. Enjoy the mint.
Seeing her do this, I'll just be like, huh, I didn't know there was a mattress outside to land on. That's nice. Good for escapes, yes, in case I have to escape. Not that I'd need to escape. This is lovely. And then he'll just go back to fumbling around with furniture.
Right. It's approximately 10:30 in the morning. She mentioned early afternoon for taking the trade documents to Master Dewson, I think his name is.
Oh wait, I forgot I wanted to ask her something.
Yes, we need to also go visit her friend at the costume shop.
Any furniture?
What?
I don't believe she told us exactly where that shop was.
But we do know where that other boy sits around the corner, right, Royal?
Yep, we can go give him a bun and see if he either knows where the shop is or if he can find hot fingers for us.
You may take my share then. I need not eat it. I am feeding already as is.
What do you eat exactly?
I'm sorry?
What does your kind eat?
I simply siphon energy.
None of our energy, I hope.
What?
It is fine. There are no consequences to it.
I would just like it noted that in the future I prefer to be asked my consent before any energy is taken from me.
If you will it, then I will.
Are the group collecting Aster before going out looking for Len?
Probably yes. If no one volunteers to go up and grab Aster, Aster will just get a message that says, "Come down, we're leaving." You just hear that whispered in your ear, like Royal standing next to you from downstairs.
I still just kind of go, huh, hearing. Whew, that was weird, whispering. Hello.
Royal hears that because that's a reply to the message spell. And so Royal pitches that noise and says, "Yes, hello. Can you come down?"
Down where? Where are you?
Here.
Downstairs.
Okay. And I'll kind of just look around the room as he leaves, not really turning his back on any which way for too long as he makes his way downstairs.
You come down to Royal just has like a crystal they're holding in their hand. The other rest of you have seen them like whispering something you can't audibly hear into it, and then they tuck it away after that. We have to work on what magic you understand, Aster. And also your ability to recognize voices.
He did just meet you yesterday, so.
I think I'm fairly distinctive in my voice, amongst many other things.
But I'm... What?
We're going to chat with Lem for a bit to see if we can get directions to the costume shop. You'll need a costume, so you'll have to come along.
You sound familiar. Huh.
Royal
Okay.
will pull out the crystal and very, obviously and purposely mind, saying hello into it, and you will hear the whisper hello in your ear again.
Hello. Are you there again?
Thought I was the dumb one here.
Royal looked hard between being flabbergasted, obviously, and thinking this is gonna be funny as shit. Going forward. But let's tuck the crystal away again, and then kind of make a very obvious, like beckoning to a child or a dog gesture, and then start out the door.
We leaving then?
Yeah. See if Lem can give us directions. If not, we can go shopping for furniture.
As soon as you open the door and go to walk out, standing outside is Hot Fingers and... Cool, about time.
You are.
I thought you were going to be in there all day.
Well, if you want to be prompt, it really helps to ask people or tell them that you're waiting outside.
Well, we all know the time of the meeting, don't we? And you said you wanted to go to see Amanda.
Yes.
It was only a bun. I didn't think breakfast would take all that long.
We were chatting just like you wanted us to.
Well, yeah,
You missed the end of the conversation. Rufus revealed all of his deep dark secrets. Terrible we were gone.
I'm sure it was truly fascinating. And with that, she turns and walks off down the road, expecting you to follow. If you don't, then
Yep,
that's fine.
bro, follows.
She turns a couple of corners and she takes you further into what you know to be Dead Town. And then she twists out down a winding alley and you come out near the back of what looks like a fairly respectable shop. She just stay here 1 minute if you don't mind. And she runs off. And you see her clamber up to a second level window and sort of give a sort of rhythmic tapping on the window and then clamber back down. A couple of minutes later, a young serving girl, it looks like, perhaps a tailor's girl, comes out the back and comes over. Oh, well, hello. Oh, you've brought friends. Is this going to be complicated, Hot Fingers? I hope the pay's good. Works very hard at the moment. Filching's not easy. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I'll speak telepathically to her head. Greetings.
Holy shit! What was that? Don't...
I'm no reminder.
Did you say that into her mind as well?
Yes.
I do bloody mind, though. Get out.
Then I'll speak through one of my holes once again. Would you prefer if I spoke like this then?
Well, of course I'd prefer you spoke like this. Don't you ask permission before entering people's heads?
But you can speak other ways.
And I'll speak into his head telepathically. Yes.
He'll say in his head, we should probably talk to you about when and where to do that. I don't think everyone's accustomed to you doing that.
I'm on a...
We're still working on the concept of consent with him.
And indeed you should. Regardless, I hope the pay's good, but are you going to be needing clothing?
Yes, the 5 of us need costumes for entertainment. Acting troupe.
Who doesn't?
Not Rufus here.
Oh. Okay.
And also not me.
You don't need anything. 6, 5, 4.
No, I guess
4?
Or 3.5, I guess. Looking at Nonnery, who's just wearing a cape.
She sort of points at Royland. Anything in particular you had in mind? We've got some fashionable nobles' dresses knockoffs.
I think we're more going for the entertainment route. Like acting troupe, clowns, jugglers, acrobats. Something flashy like that.
I can manage that, I suppose. She looks at Hot Fingers again and sort of... And Hot Fingers just sort of gestures for you lot to pay her.
Much.
The pay?
Money buys good friends.
Yes,
How much?
How much?
Well, is it just for some acting for you 4? Nothing else? Nothing different? Nothing unusual?
Not at the moment.
I don't need to
Okay.
dress, and then she sort of points at Nonnery.
Yes,
No, we
he
need
does
a
need to
cape
match.
for him. We need a cape, right? That's
cape?
what we said we were getting him.
I think a hat would be better.
Everybody needs
Well,
a good
hat would also be acceptable. It's just something that he matches with the other 3.
I've got a... I'll bring some stuff. 10 gold? 12?
That's fine. Sounds good. That's good.
She sort of turns to Hot Fingers, who's just sort of shaking her head. Guess they don't like to haggle. That's good, isn't it? Should have asked for 20. And then she sort of wanders off without waiting. And comes back a little while later with one of these sort of burlap sacks. You'll immediately recognise it as being identical to the sack that all those hats were in. There's a bunch of sort of acting gear, acting troupe gear. There's a weird sort of clown outfit. There's a strange red wig. There's 3 hats, one of which is sort of a really pointy purple hat with gold stars. One of which is a sort of old bowler hat. And the other one is a really, really wide-brimmed pink bonnet. She sort of just shrugs her shoulders and... I don't know quite what hat you had in mind, but... Well, yeah. I guess pleasure to meet you. Stay out my mind. Thanks for the gold. I'll see you later. And with that, she turns around and walks off.
Well, then we have at least some outfits for most of us. You had something in mind already for the gardener, I assume, July. You don't think you need different clothes?
Yes, I did have something in mind. Well, I don't have other clothes, but I intended to make myself a goblin, and I assumed that we could borrow something from Hot Fingers or find something even in no offense, darling, your clothes are lovely, and I would be more than happy to purchase something for you at a future date. I don't mean this in any sort of rude way. I just mean that for a goblin gardener, I could probably dumpster dive and find something.
I think that's probably fine. Let's keep an eye out as we're going.
You see, Hotfinger's just smiling, like on the edge of laughter, but doesn't say anything.
Well, should we go make our other meetings then?
Shall I take these back to the house and you can... I don't think me and Merchant drop-off is going to go down too well.
Yeah, that should be fine. We have directions and a map now.
Why wouldn't you be welcome at the Merchant drop-off?
Well, because I look like I'm from round here and you look like you're from round there. And she points to the other side of the craftsman shop. And that's why you're doing that job and I'm not. As you said, it's to do with the... And she gestures towards her clothing and her sort of chewed fingernails and the dirt smudge on her cheek and her ragged hair and her bare feet.
I'll wait for her to leave, and then I'll look over at Royal, and we should fix that. She could be useful in other parts of the city.
I'm sure we can get her some better clothes. Convincing her to wear them rather than sell them or do something else with them might take a little bit more finesse. We'll work on it. It might involve feeding her copious amounts of kismets, though.
I do have plenty.
Let's go drop us this meeting. Even barring that, if she steals as much as she seems to steal, there may be some issues in the merchant corner for reasons beyond her state of dress.
Can I assume that for most of you this will be the first time you're walking across the city in the daytime?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. So as you're sort of... Oh, that's quite loud. As you're sort of wandering across the city, you can't help but notice that at this particular part of town, as you hook back away from the back of this sort of old clothes shop, it's dirty, it's difficult. None of the people appear particularly well dressed. A few hawkers approach you at various times. For those of you who've lived a more country life, it's oppressive. There are people at every single corner. At one moment, a young woman, perhaps in her 20s, comes over. She's missing her left arm, and she's got lots of gaps in her teeth and sores across her mouth. And begged for poor, hungry. don't suppose you can help. Begs the poor. Begs the poor.
Since we never actually stopped by Len's, and Honorary insists he doesn't need it, Royal will just drop the bun into her hands.
Oh, it's a very helpful bun. It's not money though, is it?
Henry also, from his own backpack, uses Mage Hand to just lift up like 5 gold coins in the air and just hand it to her.
Within milliseconds, it's vanished and she's off. A gentleman sort of
Let's go faster,
coughing at the
faster.
edge with a pipe.
Let's see if sees that like
Comes over towards you with a stick. Begs and pardon, but are we lost? Lost.
No.
Nope. We know where we're going.
These streets don't belong to you, and you don't belong to the streets. Might find you've taken a wrong turning. Knives in the alleys, you know.
I'm out here on official temple business.
I'm sure
Son,
you
if
are,
you
lass.
have any business with the temple... She'll do her best, like, mean nun impression.
You don't
Pull out the
belong round
ruler.
here. No one temple comes round here. I'm just saying, don't take a second right. Find knives in your back, you will. And he wanders
Thank you
back
for the
off into the
warning.
darkness. You see girls sort of standing at street corners trying to look interesting and exotic while barely dressed in 2 rags and an apron. There's 5 or 6 young children in flat caps shoveling what appears to be coal onto the back of a wagon to the right. And over to the left is a young woman who's holding a babe, and she seems to have sort of 5 or 6 in little cribs next to her. She seems to be minding them for someone. A young boy scampers up, and Cinder, you feel a pat at your right hip.
I'm gonna grab that as soon as I do.
Yeah, but as you grab, he's already gone off into the distance. He seems to have found you not holding a coin purse. Not much interest. Maybe felt your weapon, you're not sure, but he was off into the distance pretty quick. And a gentleman sort of is coming down the centre of the road, leading a donkey with a cart just behind it. Walking either side of this cart are 2 really well-built gentlemen who sort of begin to step towards you.
Move to the front. Not seeing that.
Asta kind of sheepishly stands behind July. I mean, even though he's probably taller than her anyway.
I mean, Royal will just step to the edge of the road and try to go around.
Yep. As does everyone else in sight. Sort of really getting to the sides, backs against the walls, that sort of thing. As this cart comes by, you can't help but notice that it's crammed with people. Between the ages of 18 and 30, maybe a bit younger. A few fairly good-looking girls in there, but they're all shoved in, like, beyond anything that is normal. Walking behind the cart is a line, about 12 people, all manacled, one to the next, as they shuffle along on their chains. The 2 gents are sort of, with a club at their hip, just sort of walking on past, making sure that everybody keeps their distance.
Royal will
Everybody
just
keep
focus
your
on
head
walking forward.
down and just keep moving.
And don't drop 5 gold on beggars, Nonnery.
I did not drop it.
Beautiful.
Not give it to them. As kind a gesture as it is, it just encourages more, and some of them will have knives, like the second warrant.
Rufus, you're quite sharp-eyed, and you've probably seen a few nastier sides of town in your investigations. Go ahead and give me a perception check.
Perception 17.
17, yeah. All the windows to your right and left look shuttered, but as you pass, each one just peeks out, gets an eye of you and shuts again. You can't shake the feeling that someone's following you.
Cinder will point at like the cart and say, "Why are all those people in the cart?"
We'll explain that to you later. Right now, it is best that we do not talk.
He's visibly confused why we shouldn't, but he'll sort of comply, more of just not to upset the whole group.
I'll saunter over to Aster actually, and kind of as I'm smoking my pipe and in between puffs. You there, boy. Do you think you'd be able to do that little star trick again?
What star trick? I do a lot of star tricks. So there's the one where I can they envelop a person. I have one where they make me less visible. I have one where they stop people in their tracks like pesky squirrels trying to get my walnuts. What would you like me to do?
Well, I was going to ask if you could do that one you did in the living room during our little icebreaker session, but stopping people in their tracks might also be of some use. We seem to have picked up an extra member of this group.
Who?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said who?
Did I get a good look at who it was, or just kind of someone peeking out?
Somebody in the shadows with a cloak. You would assume them to be tall. They're sort of 6-7 foot tall. Other than that, nothing much.
It appears a rather hulking individual is keeping to the shadows and similarly has become our shadow.
Which shadow?
And the next time I see him out of the corner of my eyes, kind of poke through, I will as subtly as possible. I will point it out to Aster.
Aster, you're able to get eyes on him as well. At this point, as the conversation's going on, hints are going on, it's fair to say all of you are somewhat aware of what's going on, as Eli and Aster have... Sorry, Eli. Rufus and Aster sort of slowing down the group.
I just want to whisper very quickly. I don't think that doing any kind of magic tricks in front of the slave carts is...
Oh, the slave guys have proceeded past. The slave guys have proceeded past at this point.
Okay.
They're sort of 30, 40 feet behind.
Okay.
At least.
What cart?
Hurry up.
I'll turn to the shadows where the mysterious person is. And I'll flicker on my hand and a couple of dancing lights will appear. See if I can get an actual good look on the person.
Are you attempting to be subtle in any way? Or are you just sort of... There's some magic light.
I'll just kind of as I'm walking, just
Okay. As soon as the lights appear, the gentleman sort of pulls his cloak to the side, and you see a large sort of rifle sort of sitting on his hip. I say rifle, a large gun sitting on his hip. And he sort of begins to sort of hold it gently. And sits back. He's a lizard folk.
Y'all see this now?
Probably
Is
not
it Sharky?
Cinder. No. No, it doesn't appear to be Sharky.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just seeing him kind of brandish the weapon. I'd say I'll just kind of look at him and say, the figure. I believe you're outnumbered, boy. I think it's best that you stand down and announce yourself.
He moves a little closer to you and... If you think I'm outnumbered, then you can count, my friend. And he sort of motions with his head towards all of those windows that you kept seeing people peeking past.
The good old-fashioned shootout, boys.
The Kren is keeping an eye on you. I'd be suggesting you be moving pretty quickly and finding your way to a different part of town. You don't belong to these streets, and they don't belong to you.
Oh, it's so nice of our landlord to check up on us.
Landlord, you say?
Yes. We're staying at one of his establishments.
You moved yourself into Dead Town? Should probably have introduced
We
yourselves.
were invited.
Well.
Consider this an introduction. I'm Royal.
I highly doubt that. Well, be that as it may, you keep on walking. Get yourself to a nicer part of town, or learn to fit in a bit better.
Thank you for the kind advice.
Or something.
Royal,
We do
gives a little wave.
Sorry, go on,
Turns.
Rufus.
We do appreciate you checking up on us, though. It's always nice to see friendly faces.
Yeah. Sorry, Royal, what did you say? I missed it.
With that, Royal's not feeling a way for this to be productive that doesn't resort to shivving this man. Royal just gives a friendly wave as if everything's fine, and we'll go to move to walk again, like he asked.
Yep. He continues to follow. And then
I'll
ahead,
drop
Royce.
concentration on the dancing lights and let him go back to the shadows.
Those of you who are perceptive, a little way down the street, you see a thin black line drawn across the street in what looks to be relatively recent paint. As soon as you cross that line, he stops following. You've moved into Workers' Town.
Black line.
Workers, yeah, you've moved out of Dead Town.
It's there.
I think the better question is, how are we going to get home later?
We can buy some less nice clothes for all of us, just not yourself for the gardener.
So,
If we're looking to be subtle through Dead Town, that would be the way to do it.
yeah, so if you remember, you're on the edge of Dead Town. You were taken sort of through it, heading off towards the Craftsman's Ward, but at this point you've come sort of here, to the edge where the sort of entrance to Workers' Ward is. And at that point, you know that next time you could just come round Dead Town. You are right on the edge of it at home.
Okay.
And you start. These streets are still pretty nasty. It's still a rough area. It's dirty. There's gutters where people are pouring out their slops. After a particular moment, a sort of woman who's holding 7 or 8 rags sort of comes up to you and, would you sell that you're wearing? And she sort of pulls on Royal's clothing.
No, dear. I'm afraid I need them.
I got good fabric in exchange if you want.
I'm afraid I would have to make a meeting rather quickly.
I see. Very good. And a little way further down, A gentleman sort of approaches you all. And, anybody want to work? Quiet job, quick job. Plenty of cash. Quiet job, quick cash.
I would walk away now, boy.
Quiet job, quick cash, quick cash. Quiet job, quick cash. And he starts to sort of poke his head around. You'll notice that he's got something burning on his lip that, Royal, you definitely recognize this as Sindin. It's a sort of burning drug that a lot of the nobles use as well. It basically keeps him wired. His eyes are bloodshot. He's got burn sores all the way around his mouth. He's clearly really whacked. Quiet job, quick cash, they said. Quick job, quick cash. You want to work? You want to work, they said. Do you want to work? And then they took our hands, didn't they? Took our hands. He has got both his hands, so what he's talking about, you're not quite sure.
I just put my hands on Cinder and Aster and kind of like tried to get us all to move faster.
Yep. Okay. Pretty soon you work your way into. Oh, go on, Cinder.
Oh, I just said Cinder would just say, "I hate it here." This place sucks.
Pretty soon you're into the workers' streets. Once you're in the real workers' district, most people head down, paying no attention. You notice one gentleman on the corner of the street seems to be making a very quick buck. As various people approach him, make a transaction and leave, but you never see what exchanges hands. And across the road, there's a young woman who looks like anywhere else she would be in dire straits, but she seems absolutely untouched as she sort of stands out, and occasionally somebody will come by, have a quick word with her and leave. Almost always walking back in the direction they came from.
Well, we know where we're going, right? We got directions?
Yes, Merchants District.
Yeah, I mean, you're headed over to the warehouse district, right?
Merchants, I think.
Merchants? Was it? Oh, yes, sorry. You're headed to the Merchants District, yes. To Reginald Dewfoot. He's...
I just wanted to say, as we're walking, we were told that the Dewfoots are vampires? Is that correct?
DM does not know what you mean.
We have something about a vampire involved with this particular document heist that we're doing.
The family that he works for.
The Hubelines. Yes.
He does like a lot of their. I believe he made clothing actually relates to what we were doing earlier this morning.
Tailor guy.
Yeah, the Hubelines have an almost complete monopoly on the tailoring, silk, and cloth industry. It's where all their money comes from, the nobles. You sort of might have gained quite a bit of that information just from asking around in general. And Master Dewfoot is an employee of theirs, and he is a tradesman. He makes trade broking deals, maneuvers one set of stock from one place to another, that sort of thing.
We are to give him an order to make a specific trade.
You begin to move into a little bit of a nicer part of town. As you break out of the Merchants District, it's pretty... the Workers District. It's a pretty stark change. As it's still sort of quite dimly lit. The smog from the city, even though it's sort of not... It's mid-afternoon, 12:30. It's never bright in Valor. Smoke sort of hangs a little low. And occasionally you see people hawking their wares, leaning out of shops, 6 strawberries a copper, 6 strawberries a copper, 6 strawberries a copper, is sort of shouts you're hearing as you're walking down. There's another gentleman who says, knives and daggers, knives and daggers, knives and daggers if you want knives and daggers over here, knives and daggers. And as you sort of head through of this mishmash of various sort of merchants' shouts, you notice that some stores are much more sort of quiet, and allowing their storefront to show what exactly it is that they're selling. But one thing you will notice is the occasional shop instead is... don't know what that was, sorry. Some shops instead are much more sort of demonstrating their wares by paintings on the walls and the front of their windows. These sort of fascinating images. There's one florist where they've sort of got metal shutters around and these just bouquets of flowers all over the front of the shop, almost spilling out. Another one has fabulous paintings and drawings of different dresses and wares. As you sort of head through this merchant's district, it starts to get nicer and nicer. And then you take a turning onto the street that you thought you had to be on. And all of these stores have no markings, no hawkers outside. A couple of times you notice on the door there's a sort of silver or gold written business name. But other than that, they're just closed up houses. And eventually, about halfway down the street, you come across Master Dewfoot. Master R. Dewfoot, in fact.
If we're on time, or roughly when quick fingers, yep. Top fingers.
Hot fingers.
Quick was the other one. Said for us to be here, then go up and knock.
Cool. Yeah. After a short while, an enormously fat half-orc opens the door. Sort of his gut comes out before he does. Well, what is this? That's an unusual troop and group. I don't know any new business or old business. Is it new business or old business?
I think new. We have an order here.
Oh, well, in that case, come on in. I do like new business. I do. Tea, coffee, water. What's...
Lovely.
Bit of both. Well, odd group, aren't
That's
you?
what everyone wants.
Normally it's just the one. Are you here on behalf of somebody?
Yes, it's on extended orders of your employer.
I've got many of those. Anyone in particular?
I believe I think Rufus was given the badge. We have.
Yeah, we have a stamp.
A stamp.
Yeah.
You have a seal of authority, but
yeah.
Yeah, and I'll kind of reach into my coat pocket and pull it out. And
as soon as you do that, he sort of stops. Come on in, and then he closes the door. He switches something over, which puts the sign on the inside of the door instead of the outside. He puts back whatever he was getting out, and reaches into the sort of bottom right cupboard. He brings out 2 bottles of red wine, and a different pot, which is looking a lot posher, a lot more fine jewelry. He sprinkles some fresh peppermint in it and pops it on, and turns to you all. Well, you could have just said. So, well, what is it? I thought I had my instructions most recently. Something different?
there are some documents.
Yes.
Document specifics? We seem a little undecided, if you don't mind me saying.
We have them. You're to read them and follow them. It's not our purview.
Mm-hmm.
The specifics of the change in your orders.
Does it take 6 to deliver a note? And with that, he
Very
puts
much
his hand
wanted
out.
to get here.
He puts his hand out for the note.
I don't recall who specifically had it.
Anyone can hand it over.
Roy
It's fine.
yeah, Roy will fish it out and pass it over.
Well, excuse me. But the entire shipment?
Yes. Exactly what it says in the order.
Well, this just can't be right. It's got to be a mistake. Sign of... You
I
did have a
was-
seal of... You want me to deliver my entire shipment to one of those factories?
Yes, exactly what it says in the order.
He
They were
turns
quite insistent being exactly that.
very
That's why we all had to
suddenly
come.
and looks straight over Royal's shoulder at specifically Nonnery, Cinder, and Asta. what's your purpose in this business transaction?
He says nothing. He just pulls it down and then sort of just like puts his head down. Like,
Don't
speak in his mind.
be too forward with it. Sorry, none of you said.
I'll speak in his mind. Simple accompaniment.
He sort of looks to you, and then sort of almost none of it hurts with the volume that it comes back into your mind. And my mind's my own, if you don't mind. And he looks at Asta.
Very loud mind.
And you, do you purpose to serve? Serve a purpose, sorry?
I'll stand next to July, and I'll just say, it's bring your adopted son to work day, and so here I am. If you look closely enough, I have her eyes.
I put my arm around him.
I'm not gonna lie, I've just rolled a nat 1 on an insight check. He sort of goes, oh, very well, whatever it is. Goodness me, it is a strange bunch that brings such bad news to my door. Can I seal that seal of approval, please? I really... What did you say your name? I don't think you did. Your names?
I don't particularly see why that's important at the matter. They were said to put a rush on this. But you can call me Miriam, if it's vitally important.
Miriam.
I was told this would be quick, but very important.
What happened to Bernie? He normally delivers my manifests.
Can I roll
I'm
insight
afraid
on this
I'm
guy?
not...
Sorry, go on, Duff.
Can I roll insight on this guy?
If you wish. As far as you can tell, he seems to be being fairly truthful. Bernie usually brings his manifests, but if you can tell me what you got, you might get something else. I don't know how perceptive Cinder is of businessmen in the
15.
city. Yeah, I mean, he seems honest in his confusion. Oh, sorry, I've just realised you're missing that. There you go, that's Master Reginald Dewfoot. He sort of reaches into his pocket and pulls out a sort of... actually, I'm not sure any of you know what it is. It's a sort of long metal device. It's sort of thin. It's a little like a pen in shape and size. And he begins to sort of tap it down on the table and pulls it out, and then takes a long sniff at one end of it. Well, Miriam 'tis if I'm to blame, is that true? And what happened to Bernie, if you don't mind me saying?
To my knowledge, Bernie is fine, but he was unavailable to make this order, and it was quite an important modification.
Unavailable to the Hooblings, I wouldn't want to be him. Well, be that as it may,
I didn't inquire about the specifics for that very reason.
So, just to confirm, so as to we understand that I have understood what you have understood and what it says. The entire shipment of silk from Warehouse 16 is to be delivered to Tailoring Factory 9, down at the industrial quarters, as opposed to our usual CJs.
Yes, exactly what it says in the order.
Okay, so we're now giving over our goods to Davros Sodergan, the merchant. Goodness me, what's he... Well, nobles is as nobles does, I suppose. Very well.
It's neither of our place to question that.
No, indeed, 'tisn't. I just... Well... Thank you very much, I guess, making your way out here. You didn't want any wine, did you? He hasn't opened the bottle, and he sort of looks at you and... Is that everything?
Yes, as long as everything is clear, and you'll make sure the new orders are followed, it should all be good.
Each to their own, and own to their... Well, goodness me, I think this is going to be quite a change in action.
We should leave you to get to working on that then.
Yes, I'll be working on that. And with that, he sort of ushers you all out the door. You hear him sort of, I don't understand any of this, but I suppose I must do what I'm told. Always is the way, and don't worry about any inconvenience Sir Reginald Juice, and just get on with it, I suppose it is, for goodness sake, ridiculous. And with that, we will take a short break. Hello, and welcome back to the second half of Intricate Designs. Our party were wandering back through a much nicer part of the neighbourhood. However, as you get to a certain split in the road, you realise that should you want to case the joint as such, it's a right turn off into the Noble District to go and have a look at the Peveron household and estate. Yeah, I'll leave it to you guys.
Rufus, do you want to go see where your entrance might be?
I think that would be a good idea. It's better than going
Once you're
in
invisible,
blind.
you'll be a little bit on your own, so anything that would make you more comfortable.
Real quick, I will kind of duck into an alley, and I will quickly cast Disguise Self on myself, and have myself look like probably just an average gnome, a regular gnome, and just not just a stand.
Sort of a worker or an aristocrat, or where are we in the
this
social
part of-
standings?
So this part of town, obviously, it's more. You said it's more well-to-do.
Yeah, you're about to
I'll-
head into the sort of Craftsman Ward and then up to the Noble District.
Kind of like, actually, I'll probably go almost like a street cleaner, kind of. Again, similar to Arthur, just the kind of people that no one really pays attention to.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
100%. So as you sort of shuffle on back out, we're in fact going to follow Rufus as we wander through the Craftsman Ward. You're sort of a little way down the street, 10 or 12 buildings. An old gent with a flat cap and a broom sort of turns to you and... you want a break?
Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And just kind of...
Aye. Fair enough. Well, would you, when you're done, just mind shutting up the bum shed? And he points sort of to a gap between two houses, where you do see a sort of little shed, a few brooms, a couple of chimney sweep tools, and what looks like a wool roller just standing up against the back of it.
Not a problem.
Thanks, Khan. Sort of walks down. As you got a little close, you'd have noticed that his eyes are a little glazed over. Maybe he doesn't see so well. He's judged you by height and posture and not much else. And he goes sort of wandering on down the street. You'll notice the streets start getting a little wider here. The brickwork's better. And you begin to see glass windows instead of shutters at this point. This is where it really sort of starts to become a district. A couple of balconies overlooking stores are where fine ladies stand and sort of look down over the populace. They're probably not available ladies. They're more sort of wistful young girls, sort of imagining how it will be on the street. And a young girl sort of begins to walk backwards and is going to bump into you if you don't.
Does she seem of this class, or is she kind of...
You notice that she's holding a bouquet of flowers, and she's probably a little young to be out on the street on her own. Maybe she's trying to sell her wares, but she seems quite oblivious, and she's backing away. Go ahead and give me an insight check to see maybe what she's backing away from.
It's gonna be a whopping 6.
Yeah, she looks a little spooked.
I'll just kind of, grab her and like sidle by and just say, "Careful, dear," and
Thanks, mister. And she sort of turns, and then she just actually decides that she's no longer going to back away, and she just bolts down the street. Coming towards you is a fairly heavy-set gentleman, very well attired in a beautiful suit, and sort of holding a walking stick. He's got a fancy top hat on, a big brooch, but he's got a hard-looking face. He's sort of putting your hands on that girl. Not much of your business, is it, street cleaner?
I just like to look out for the folks who don't always look out for themselves.
Indeed. Looking out is your business now, is it?
No, but manners are a wonderful thing. My mother taught me that.
Mother now, is it? Mother taught me manners. Goodness. And then he sort of shrugs his shoulders and sort of almost knocks you as he walks past and sort of completely heads onwards. A little behind him is a young boy, also sort of dressed in a suit, but the suit's a little too large for him, a little long in the cuff. His shoes look a bit uncomfortable. His top hat keeps slipping down over his eyes. And he, Father, I'm coming. He sort of looks at you and, what are you looking at, man? And then carries on, sort of trying to tip his hat backwards and wandering on down the street. In all this distraction, you suddenly realise that actually your turning is just to the right now. And you see quite a beautiful boulevard ahead of you.
Can I make out which is the house?
You know that sort of a good way down this street. So there's 2 estates on this road as you first turn in. The first is... Sorry. Excuse me. The first is... Where's my little map? Come on. There we go. The first is the Elery Estate. It's quite a beautiful building. It's all spires and glasswork and sort of pale green. It's very elven in its make. And very graceful and beautiful. But then as you sort of trek all the way past this estate, you see another house. There is a sort of beautiful garden entry, a double gate at the front. And there's a sort of fairly high wall around the outside. As you notice that this is indeed the Pevron Estate. It's beautiful, but it's also a little imposing. It's a little ostentatious. Standing at this sort of double gate are 4 gentlemen, 2 of whom wear leathers that sort of go down to the waist and appear to have a pistol at their hip, and 2 of whom are the more sort of old-fashioned chain and sword sort of guards, and they seem to be checking a few people as they come in and out. You quickly work out that this is for the noble guests to enter.
Sure.
It sure as hell isn't the servants' entrance or the attendants' entrance, but it's also not the family entrance.
Okay.
I'm assuming that you're sort of going to stay well out the way at this point, right?
Yeah, just kind of keep my head down, just kind of lower my cap a little bit, and even in the disguise, and just kind of, have it look like I'm kind of looking down at my feet and looking at the street, but kind of like clocking it out of the corner of my eye.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a wall or a fence?
It's a wall. It's approximately 9 feet in height at this particular moment. 3 halflings, maybe 2 3/4. But as you look further to the right and left, the wall gets higher. It comes down at this point for the gate, and so as to give the sort of front entrance to make it viewable from the street. The street itself is raised up. So if you imagine, you've got the street and then steps downwards and then the wall up. Making it a lot more difficult to climb from the outside, but also allowing the street to view in, and also the house to view out.
Fair enough. Okay.
So the ditch goes both ways. If you imagine, like, it's almost like a moat with a wall in the middle, but without any water.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the people coming out, are they anyone of note, or they just
Yes.
seem to be?
You see various people in and out. The first thing you'll notice, indeed, Hot Fingers would have told you this, they're all hatted. Fancy hats, top hats, sort of wonderful feather things going on, fancy headpieces. The women have their hair sort of all up and ostentatious, and bows and ribbons and gold hairpieces and all sorts. There is plenty of feather going on, there's scarves going on, and there's trails of servants behind these people. Wherever they walk, they've got guards, they've got servants, they've got followers, they've got hangers-on. And the guards are all deferentially bowing. Some people are going in and out in carriage and coach. You do notice at one point a rather dashing goblin wearing a purple brocade sort of cloak with a feather in his sort of almost jaunty cowboy-esque hat. Rides out on a donkey. And as he goes out, he's sort of tipping his hat to the guards and waving off, and he says, you actually hear him calling over to one of the women, I'll be seeing you at the ball tonight. I'm most looking forward to it. It's going to be fabulous, fabulous. Don't worry about it. You don't even have to bring anything. Just bring yourself. It's going to be the most pleasant ball of all. Most splendid. Much far better than last 10-day. We have 6 bards tonight. 6 bards. Fabulous bards. There's Damocles and Raveron and Epsticket playing tonight. And that gentleman's coming to do the spoken word tribute. And with that, he sort of wanders on down and tips his hat again and heads off towards another noble house. You pretty quickly work out this is one of the children of the Peveron house. Very well to do, and sort of, although he's dashing off on his pony, it's only sort of 10, 12 feet behind that he's being followed by guards who are keeping an eye out, also riding.
And I'll say, and the kind of like consistent stream of people leaving this this gate. How long does that last? Just like a couple minutes, or is that
It
kind
doesn't
of constant?
stop. It doesn't stop at
Okay.
any point. There are people in, people out, people in, people out all the time. They're either... Some of them are visitors, but most of them seem to be sort of members of the household leaving and returning with shopping.
Okay. I'll kind of clock that for a couple minutes, and then I'll head up the street again and see if I can find. So at this angle of the house, would I be looking at the front of it, or
We
is it
are
the side of it?
exactly at this particular moment, as the image dictates, dead center main gate.
Okay.
It doesn't take you long looking down to the right to see what appears to be a sort of a quieter but much wider gate. And at one moment you see a very fancy carriage leaving. But other than that, you see no traffic there. Go ahead and give me an insight check on that particular gate. You will see that there are 8 guards there.
That's a 1.
Oh, brilliant.
Natural 1 for a total of 3.
Okay, this gate is either used for servants, merchants, nobles, potentially invading armies, possibly the bricklayers. It's definitely some people use this gate. It's sure as hell well guarded. Yeah, that's what you've got.
Keen detective mind. I know things. I know all the things.
Yes, however, if you were to head the other way, you will very quickly note 6 gates equally spaced along the left wall. All of these arrive at the left of this wall. So I'm just pinging here. So if you imagine, they sort of arrive at the back of that wall. And these are relatively small gates, but they get smaller as you go along. And you'll notice correlating doors with paths leading to them on the wall. 2 of them are large enough for carriage or coach. Perhaps these are used for delivering goods and wares. And then as you get further down, it's sort of the level of servant is going down. And in fact, at the very last gate, you see a chimney sweep boy sort of coming out with his master, sort of looking covered head to toe in soot. And they're muttering quietly, but you're able to pick up a little bit of conversation about how meanly they were treated by the other servants.
And so looking at from what I can see, that one room that Hot Fingers kind of mentioned, and then like thinking back to the blueprints, that kind of, I guess, master bedroom.
Okay, so you're back to
Where-
the front at that point.
Okay.
It's front corner. So on one side you have the entrance, or one of the entrances, which is sort of tucked into the left. Over at the right-hand side, almost dead opposite, is a very sort of long balcony, which you assume to be... we'll do a little mark here. You assume that there to be the master bedroom, with the green cross on it.
Sure.
And if you imagine these little servants' entrances are sort of all the way along the left wall, over
Right.
by the kitchens. And do bear in mind that there are 3 floors here, and we're only looking at 1 floor of blueprints because the internet's not that giving. So these are those gates. And then you've got that sort of large gate over here, which is the sort of main gate. And then
Sure.
there was that very fancy gate over here, which sort of took all of this space. Where they're either sort of, possibly invading armies. We're not sure. You do, however, on your way all the way round, see 2 entrances at the very back. These are sized for horses, and you will notice there are 2 guards on each gate. But if you wait long enough, sort of 10-12 minutes, you notice that the people coming in and out of them are guards. So that's the changing of the guard entrance, if you like. And there is one singular gate at the back, which is quite long, but it has a separate set of gates in the middle. And here, there is a stream of people arriving and no one leaving. And all of these people have carts and trolleys and sort of other such. And at one moment, you see a second set of gates open to allow a large entrance. And 12 people come in carrying what looks to be a stage of some sort, or bits of staging. You'd imagine this is a sort of delivery entrance. There seems to be no correlating entrance to the house. The goods are being taken round to the main entrance.
And then for the servant entrances, are there any guards there at all?
Yeah. So there are 2 guards on every entrance. These guards are... There is one of each type. One in the leathers, with a pistol, and one in the sort of metal armor with the swords. You do notice, however, that standing sort of a little way back and walking up and down are 2 guards who... They're sort of more finely dressed. They look a bit more like butlers. But they have swords at their hips. And it seems to be them that are directing various people. And guards. You're more than welcome to sort of try and get a better look at them. But you've got to remember that you're standing across the street from this wall here. From this wall along here. So it's quite a distance to catch them.
All right. I kind of clock everything and check the guards at each entrance, and especially once I make out that this is the what we believe to be the master bedroom, I'll kind of nod to myself, and then
one thing you will notice is that even invisible, there is so much activity out at the front of the house that scaling that would be almost impossible. You would have to be a master thief and completely invisible to be able to work your way up from the outside. So although you've got a good look at it, it's likely that you're going to have to get there via the inside.
Sure. All right.
Oh, sorry, one piece of information I probably should have mentioned is that all the way around the circular entrance are parked carriages. There's a long line of them. And the drivers are all stood by the carriages, often with a guard or two. So that flurry of activity that I was talking about, that's why it would make it so difficult to get across the entrance area. To your expert eyes, as you've cased so many joints for thievery, I'm sure, it looks a lot easier to go in through the outside walls than through the internal area. That's
Right.
pretty obvious to anybody, really. Yeah.
Just kind of sigh to myself and say, do it for Cora. She's worth it. And I will head back. I'll start making my way back to the house.
Tempting, but no. Okay, brilliant. And we pick up with the rest of the group. As you're sort of wandering on through the streets of Val.
Buying furniture.
Well, yes and no. You're sort of, at the moment, just wandering through the streets of Valor. Sort of looking for the right place. You come across a few places. There are some master craftsmen who look like, 1,000 gold might buy a chair. So you pretty much move away from there pretty quickly. And then you sort of somehow manage to get straight away to the sort of gutter shite of 5 gold will buy 14 beds and lice. And then sort of between you navigate around. Royal, you've been here a little while. You're able to find a slightly nicer part of town. It sort of looks like it sells to the workers and perhaps some of the more industrial people. It's a more utilitarian sort of furniture-y house. Furniture-y place. And there's a gentleman outside. In fact, there's two. The first is a dragonborn, blue-scaled, looking quite fancy. And the second is a dwarf. She's got very broad of shoulder, very broad of muscle. And in fact, she has 4 saws, hacksaws, saws, not marks, hanging from her belt at the side. And as she sees you pass, can I trouble you for some work? Are you looking to buy, are you? Trouble you for some wares?
We are looking to buy.
Oh.
We need some furniture for a new house.
Oh, well, indeed. Bookcases, shelves, bed frames, tables, dining. What is it that might interest you?
Soon as we stop here, Cinder immediately pulls out the notepad that he wrote down everything that we would need, and he just sort of walks up and he'll basically start craftsmanship talking, being like, "This is what we're gonna need, right?" Okay. It seems like if anything, he's more comfortable here than anything else that you've seen all day.
What's Cinder's craft, if I might ask?
He's like woodworking and stuff basically anything that you could slot gems or carve into. Cinder is in some way knowledgeable in it. There are certain things he's stronger in, but with woodworking and stuff like that, he knows a decent amount about it. Just
Go ahead and give me a strength check with proficiency modifier. This would be your sort of worker's check. I will go through at some point, guys, if you do have your various tool knowledges, and give you actual custom skills for them. But for now, that's how it would rock up.
22.
Fab, yeah. So, as soon as you sort of break into conversation, what is it you start talking about? What is it that you need?
Basically, I sort of start going over. It's just we need tables, actually working tables, since everything in the house is completely
just
falling apart.
Something a bit utilitarian, or perhaps
it's
something a bit more fancy.
We don't really need the fancier side. More if we get
keep it
really
simple,
sturdy, that would be good.
How many chairs do you want?
He'll sort of quickly count up. He'll say probably 8, just in case.
8.
Anyone else is coming.
Alright, very good.
And stuff like that. Shelves, stuff for dishes.
Shelves is not very specific, if you don't mind me saying. Were you thinking 18 bookshelves, or were you thinking a single shelf above your fridge?
Probably like getting like a couple in like the kitchen. It's a lot easier when you're sort of there. I could like sort of point out and stuff like that.
You want me
But
to
like
come
bookshelves
visit?
would be needed.
I wasn't
That
planning
would
on doing
actually
that,
be
love.
perfect.
Okay, well,
I
you
mean,
want me to come around and do a visit and start fitting things to walls? You're gonna have to pay a bit extra. We're gonna have some of this up front. Can you tell me where you're living, love?
He will do his best to remember where like any
As
address.
soon
that we
as
have
you
or
get
anything
the
like
address
that.
even vaguely right, she looks at you. I won't be coming round there, love. And you'll have to pay up front for your furniture.
Did we
And
bring the money?
immediately you realise that she will not go near Deadtown. But she will say,
Yes, we have the money.
fear not, though, love. I can still sort you out. I just, I'll have to make it here and you can come
Yeah,
and pick it up.
alright.
I can send the craftsman. He'll bring it down on his cart, but you'll have to take it the rest of the way.
All right. Well, whatever it takes, and he'll sort of keep going on and like he didn't get it look into everyone's room, and he doesn't know what everyone sort of wants in his room. but
No,
him
I don't think
specifically-
rooms. At the moment, you're getting the kitchen, the
yeah,
dining room, the living area
exactly.
down.
Yeah, and if anything, he'd probably also just be like, a couple bed frames for the rooms, the ones that we're wearing in are like falling apart. Just like basically we need this place livable and not looking
Livable?
like a rat shit's nest.
If you're moving into Deadtown, you're likely only to be living there for a week before you move out in a coffin, love.
That's unfortunately for us, that is not happening anytime soon.
Aye, well, if you've got the gold to pay for it, it's not my business, is it? And then she sort of looks to the rest of you and sort of looks over at Nonnery, who I think is probably looking a little curious. Is there anything you want for yourself, love?
I will, as I usually do with most people, greet her in her mind. Ah, yes.
Well, do go on. Don't just keep it to yourself.
Are you capable of repairing these items?
Of whatting?
Repairing. Are you able to repair a table of coffee, I believe?
I can do the repairs. You'll have to bring the table up. As I said, I'm not going to make visits. But if you can bring the table up, I'm sure I can fix it up nice and easy.
I will do so then.
Oh, very good. And you're wanting a few repairs or just a coffee table?
A few other items, if you're capable
Aye.
of doing so.
Indeed. We're using this company. They might even visit down at Deadtown Street. And she turns to the gentleman, the Dragonborn, and who was that lad who picked stuff up from the more the less favourable part of towns? You see, she's trying to work out exactly how to phrase it. The Dragonborn looks over, and I do believe that was Wensome's. Wensome's, they were some big lads, weren't they? Couple of Goliaths. They'll be all right picking up from Deadtown, I'm sure. Should I send them by tomorrow? They can pick up some stuff and perhaps deliver some of the more stock stuff that we have in. A couple of utilitarian tables, few chairs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, Cinder sort of nod his head and be like,
And then the Dragonborn
think
sort of
that's
looks
cool.
around to July and Aster and Royal. And, anything in particular that any of you wanted?
No, everything Cinder put in seems fine.
Aye.
Nonary would speak up again in her mind. Are you able to transport fungi from the Underdark as well? Are you capable of those services?
The Dragonborn sort of looks at you like you're crazy. The dwarf, however, turns to her. I did hear about a place down in the Craftsman Ward. They make these kind of funny lamps out of mushrooms. Kind of like, they do some weird stuff. You could try them. Just a thought. But certainly we don't deal in fun guys. Or mushrooms, for that matter.
I actually do have a request. in addition to all of your stock material, do you happen to make items that would lock, or perhaps like puzzle boxes or something?
I'm not exactly sure. Oh, I've stolen your accent. My brain just clicked. Not exactly sure about lockboxes as such, but I might be able to do you a couple of big chests, perhaps. Maybe with locks. Maybe a smaller chest if you like. Got proper locks on them. But there is a locksmith a couple of doors down. Perhaps if I get the chest, they can do the locks.
Yes, maybe just one chest, and we'll get a good hefty lock for it. Perhaps.
She sort of just moves her arms around. Like, how big is this? Am I putting a person in it or a piece of jewelry?
Probably about the size of a halfling.
How many
Yes,
halflings?
if we could fit about one halfling inside.
Sort of, couple of feet by a couple of feet by a couple of feet.
Yes.
By a couple of feet.
Reasonably hefty.
Great. All right, love. That'll be 382 gold.
Do you have black and white paint?
I do wood, love.
This entire time, Cinder's basically just like, oh my god. Like, after everyone else has been embarrassed by, like, him, he's now embarrassed by everyone else, just like...
If you're looking for paint, you'll want to drop down to the Drapers a couple of doors down. They've got a painter that does some work for them. But I do wood.
Given the amount of what we're ordering and that we're paying up front, can we do 350?
Give me a persuasion check.
That's a 24?
Great, I rolled a 6. Yeah. That's with modifiers. She sort of looks at you. I suppose we can do about that. That'll cover the cost of the deliveries a couple of times.
Excellent.
Couple of doors down for the painter, and your mushrooms that are down at the crafter's ward. A pleasure doing business with you. I'm Sandy.
Cinder will introduce himself. I'm Cinder, as he's the only one who's like comfortable in any of this and knows what a woodworker is.
Well, no, I mean, a couple of you seemed like you're quite used to purchasing furniture, just not used to crafts.
No.
Aye, very good. Well, in that case, I'll get down on that. Am I alright to pop down tomorrow morning?
It should work fine.
Or send the Wensons, yes.
Well, yes, I won't be coming myself, as I said. I'm going to visit those kinds of towns. But I'll send them over. And they'll do a collection for some of the repair work as well. If there's too much confusion, I might charge you a little extra for some of the repair work. But I doubt that... And she sort of realises she's about to be rude. And then decides to be rude anyway. I doubt the stuff is particularly expensive anyway. Or of particularly high quality, given where it's coming from.
No, it's not.
Great. Alright, will that be everything?
I think for now it shall be.
A pleasure. And with that, you guys are able to head off with sort of knowing that furniture will arrive at some point, maybe, hopefully. They seem quite reliable. And you guys get back, and you notice that there's a glow coming from inside your home.
Sorry, did I pick up the paint?
Oh, yeah, you can pop down a couple of doors down. It'll take 1 gold piece for some black and white paint, unless you want, like, gallons of it.
Just enough to paint a room.
Oh, yeah, okay. A gold piece is fine.
Black and white paint.
Yeah, no, right. I didn't know if you were, like, trying to paint the city black and white. Regardless, yeah, black and white paint's nice and easy.
And a lock for the chest.
Mm-hmm. And it'll cost you 6 gold pieces.
Are we able to cover that? I don't really get paid for my work.
You require gold.
I'm assuming at this point that all of these expenses are coming out the 1,000, as they that is what it was for.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And as you guys are sort of meandering back, and as I say, you see this sort of warm glow coming from inside the house.
It wasn't doing that before we left, right?
I do not think
Lights
so.
working now?
Sorry, Nonnery, what did you say?
I was just commenting. I do not think so.
Royal?
It's like maybe the lights will are working now.
It's definitely not light. It looks like flame. It's not on fire. It looks like the warm glow of a fireplace.
Who's in the house?
The person that lives there that isn't with you?
Fingers.
Maybe?
Fingers, probably?
No,
Yeah,
Rufus is not back yet. Yeah.
Royal's gonna walk up and open the door.
Okay.
See what's up.
Immediately, a few people jump to their feet, and you'll notice that Hot Fingers is sat by the fire, where she's got a working fire in the fireplace, and there are 5 very scraggly youths between the age of sort of 6 and 9, sat around the fireplace, and she turns to you and, "Oh, you're home a little earlier than I thought. Oh, I am... Well, they did say I could have a place, and... she gestures, and these are some of my friends. They just wanted a place to get warm for a bit. It's cold outside." They wipe their feet, mind.
If we actually look at their feet, how clean do they look?
They're bare feet. So, not in the slightest, really. They're grimy, they're grotty, they're dressed in rags. But each one of them sort of very politely goes, "Hi."
I'll raise one of my tentacles.
We'll get out your hair. Did you... Well, I'll be back in a few minutes. Let me just see the lads out.
No, your friends don't have to leave, darling. It's okay. There's plenty of room.
You hear that, lads? There's plenty of room, apparently. But you mind you keep your ears closed, yeah? And she looks at them, and they are sort of, "Yes, ma'am." One of the youngest boys, who's sort of 4 or 5, sort of stares up at Nonnery. What are you?
Nonnery, make sure you ask permission, Nonnery.
I'm gonna speak in his mind.
In the face.
Yeah. If you do, so what do you say? Wow.
Greetings.
He turns to the rest of it. Can you all hear that?
No, which means he's being rude again.
Awesome.
I'll speak out loud this time.
Do me again!
Jesus. I'll speak to his mind once again. My name is Noenry. Ahmed.
You're the one with the float. You're the one with the floating bum, right?
I think so.
Hot Fingers. I said keep your ears closed, and you can keep your mouths closed while you're at it. Thank them for the heat, and stay by the fire and keep nice and quiet. They've got business to talk. And then she looks at you all. You do have business to talk, right?
I'm actually mostly waiting for Rufus to get back at the moment.
Oh. So she sort of stands there and doesn't really say anything. But luckily for you guys, as you meander by the shops, it's only a minute or 2 before Rufus arrives back at the house.
Is he not disguised?
Probably
I'll
not
say,
well
yeah,
enough to avoid you guys, no.
I'll say, yeah. At this point, yeah, I would have dropped it on my way,
Sorry.
and I come back in. I have returned, and by my deduction, there are many more people in the room.
Hot Fingers is having a sleepover.
They're sleeping the night.
She gives you the most violent glare you've ever received, Royal.
Royal just grins back at her, because that was exactly the reason why she fucking said that. Anyway, there's a spare room upstairs. We should probably go chat in there.
Hot Fingers looks at you all and... You know there's an office down there, right? If you remember,
Yes.
there is quite a large office and there's also a sort of workroom area. The office is closed off, and if you wish, that's probably the place to do business talking.
You know, the office. All of them don't have any functional furniture, so it's really the same either way, but...
True, but leave the dead dwarf's room alone.
We will. We will have furniture soon, don't worry.
Yes.
We'll have furniture.
It's the principle of the thing.
Oh, yeah, we got furniture. It's coming sometime.
It's coming.
We're getting a few things tomorrow, and there should be more coming down the line.
You paid?
Yes.
Yo, what a waste. Mind you, I suppose it wouldn't be very easy to sit at a table.
Cinder is gonna go up to her, and then he's going to point at like the ruined couch. How are you going to steal that? Tell me, what's
She
your plan?
gestures towards like the 7 kids, and she's like,
Okay,
many
all right,
hands
kids,
makes
come
things
here.
lighter, you know?
Come here, kids. Try to lift this up.
They all sort of immediately, like they've been ordered, move up to it, and between them they sort of heave. It tips one way up and then sort of drops back down. All right, you have a point. A sofa and a
Exactly.
table. So.
He'll walk back to the office after that.
All right. I don't agree with paying for anything, really.
If you can get a very nice chair or something, that's fine.
I'm fine with that. You can take chairs.
Just have to pay for it, though. That's just the reality.
She sort of smirks. I think Royal's probably most likely. Go ahead and give me an insight check on her.
That's a 17.
Yeah, you get the impression that maybe you should take a look in her room at some point.
What the fuck's
Other
in
than
there?
that, you guys are able to head into the office and you can chat again.
Royal makes note of that for later.
Also, can I just ask, again, how the hell are you pinging to chat your colour? It's amazing.
There's a way to do it. It's like if you type something,
Is it a
it'll
condition?
turn it into those brackets.
It's /EM.
Yeah, it's that one.
Yeah, it's like
And
in
you can type
character
anything like
speaking.
that.
Cool. Okay, right. Yeah, I've never seen anyone do that. It's really funky. You're just like changing colour. But anyway, you guys have managed to find your way into the office where there is a somewhat working bureau. It's only got 2 drawers out of the possible 8, but the top seems alright. And there's a fairly nice chair behind it with no cushions.
Don't worry, this will be fixed soon. Cinder says that to himself. Or it's just like, he's very bothered by not having anything in this house whatsoever that is not broken or probably covered with roaches or cockroaches.
We should discuss how we behave on the street, probably. As was mentioned earlier, paying too much mind to the beggars and everything, it tends to draw unwanted attention and knives.
We can handle knives.
There is a certain number of knives that will eventually kill you, and there is a lot of them on the streets.
I'd like to see them try.
There's also enough suffering in this city. Alleviating even just a little bit is worth it.
Also, I am an old woman and I do not wish to be stabbed.
Fine.
It's admirable to want to help all of them, but we don't have the means. So in general, it's a good idea to...
Oh, and Cinder, darling, the wagon that we saw full of people, it's best to not pay too much attention to those wagons.
That was a weird bus.
Do they not... Where are you from?
He'll sort of just say the name of a town that is that no one here is going to know. Literally, he's from the middle of nowhere.
When you see a cart with those sort of folks in it, behind it, around it, near it, think of it more as involuntary transport.
Just he doesn't understand anything you're saying. So it is a bus then.
It's a slave cart, darling. I'm sorry to be blunt, but if we're going to survive all this adventure...
Oh, slavery.
Yeah, I think it's fair that Cinder's sort of heard that this
Why
happens in the
the
cities,
bus?
but he's never seen it.
Yeah, it's like when you hear about something, right, that you've just never thought of before, right? It's just like, okay.
If you pay them too much mind, oftentimes they won't have any qualms about adding another to their cart.
His face returns to the face before when he said he was willing to fight the beggars with the knives. Just like to see them try.
If that doesn't give you some pause, enough attention may just. You may be too big of a target, but they'll probably happily beat their cargo if it would for drawing attention.
Not to mention, if you get too much attention on us, it could upset whomever our employer is. And in that
The
case,
girl you quite like, I believe.
Upon you guys saying that, he's immediately just like, oh, all right, so don't do that. Got it. Like, it's like everything you said went one ear out the other, but as soon as you mentioned, like, oh, yeah, you know that one person is, oh, okay, yep, got it.
Noted for future manipulation.
As you're sort of just finishing this sentence, Hotfingers sort of looks on the door and... Are we on to the whole how we get in the ring thing? It's just I think maybe you guys might need some supervision.
So you can come in. We were just about to get a report from Rufus.
Great. And then she sort of reaches into a brown paper bag, takes out one of those sticky buns and...
Did you share that with your friends?
Oh, they've eaten. I'll never let them go hungry.
When?
You can give me an inside check, shall I?
Okay, I will.
Yeah, well, I'll see that first.
Sorry, 16.
Yeah. It seems like she's telling the truth. She sort of looks at you and... I'll never let them go hungry. I know that maybe I might seem a little harsh, but I'll feed them. I does.
All right, I believe you.
So, did you have a look?
I did a little scouting. It is quite the busy hub of social import. There are quite a few gates. The main gate is a constant flow of nobles. They seem to be coming and going at all hours. I don't think or at least I will be able to get in from the outside if from the interior courtyard. Royal, this trick of yours that allows me to get up to the top floor, how exactly does it work?
What time is it about now?
It's currently about 3:30
Okay.
in the afternoon. 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we have time. Would you like a demonstration?
Sure.
Take a deep breath, and then Royal goes over and boops you on the nose, and you find yourself standing on the other side of the room.
Right.
Hotfinger's jaw just drops to the floor.
Cinder's jaw drops to the floor. What the fuck was that?
Teleportation.
Yes. I have a knack for it, and when I'm green, like today, I can do it on other people.
She
I'd have
looks
to
at
touch
and-
you.
How far does it go, though?
30 feet? That's why I asked about the floor.
30 what?
30 feet?
Like,
About 10
Size of
halflings or so.
about the
right.
size of the halfling thing.
that's not even going to reach the balcony. I mean, maybe if you were standing straight below it, but it was cool, but it might make some notice, don't you think?
It was more sounding like the balcony was too obvious anyway, so we could have sent him through one of the outside windows to a lower floor.
You can do that through windows.
Yeah, just to see where they're going.
You're coming with me
That might...
when I need to do my next heist. Just saying.
I think that that might have to be what we do. So I did notice as well, on the right side of the well, to be honest, it's a complex at this point. The entire property, the complex, there seems to be a very large gate where all manners of entertainment and other uh, caterers, that sort of thing, they seem to enter from that side. And if you don your disguises, you should be able to go in through there amongst the throngs of other entertainment and be largely unnoticed. Sorry, I'm just seeing A Game put the thing on his head. But Royal, if you can get me in, possibly below through one of the windows. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I mean we can set you up as invisible a little bit of ways. Walk up. We pass by whichever window you think is best, and you get popped in there, and then we go to be exceedingly distracting.
Can I just remind you, sort of as a DM, there's a good 70 or 80 feet between the walls of the
in the
estate
complex.
and the walls with the windows on, right? So unless you are inside with him, you might be able to get him over the wall. You won't be able to get him in the window. But but Rufus, you would have noticed with the flow of traffic that it wouldn't be hard for somebody who was invisible to sort of just bustle on in with other people.
Then yeah, we'll have to go in and be entertainment and pick a place you would like me to meet you. And then I could do that on the other side. Getting in shouldn't be an issue, I assume, if it's as bustling as you said, so...
If this is a regular party for them, then I don't know. I mean, there's quite a few people there. Cinder?
Yeah, I know we're still like discussing getting in, but if we're entertainment, how are we gonna get out?
We leave after we entertain?
Yeah,
Rufus will be a little bit more complicated.
We don't know how long that party's gonna go on for. And eventually, if it seems like entertainment's already there, eventually we're gonna step on someone's toes, and he sort of shrugs his shoulders. He's like,
well,
I presume everyone's going to get very drunk and everything and stuff like that. We'll be able to just walk out at some point.
And also, I know we just met, but I like to have faith in some people, and perhaps Royal and Nonnery can dazzle some people and cause a distraction enough for us to slide out. Nothing too volatile, mind you, but there are a number of servant exits. While they are guarded, they are... yes, ranked would be the best way to put it.
Hotfinger sort of looks at you and, when in doubt, just smash the drinks. That always gets the nobles' attention, so they do love their drink.
I mean, I think once we've made a performance, which I will ensure is exceedingly distracting, most of us leaving should not be an issue, and hopefully Rufus will complete all of his business while he's still invisible, and can also just slip out if he is as sneaky as he says he is.
Have faith, child.
Worst case scenario, Nonnery, how far away does a person have to be for you to be able to speak in their mind?
Well, it is only within...
How many halflings?
Yeah, how many?
halfling. I like how that's our unit of measurement now. Just halflings.
Halflings. Let's see. How many halflings indeed? Okay. So, all right. 20 halflings.
20 halflings. Okay. Well, I don't have to be a gardener. I could be any sort of maid, and if I stick close enough that Nonnery can shoot me a message should things go wrong, I'll just start a fire, and in the commotion, we can leave.
Cinder will sort of just like shrug his shoulders. It's like, I'm mostly leaving all this planning to you. I just figured it was better to have some idea rather than just we leave.
I think the plan is we'll spend about an hour at the party. If things are going well, it will have been very distracting and entertaining, and all of the heisting and stuff will be finished then, and we'll simply walk out at that point. Because ideally, no one should be the wiser.
Well, I think I'll let you guys get on with the rest of your... There's a lot of talk, isn't it? I usually just do it.
Very expensive ring we're trying to steal, I think. So...
Important is more expensive than expensive. Or something like that. I'm sure they said something like that. Anyways.
Our friends want to be useful while they're out there. They can scrub the floor.
No need for that. I can clean myself.
I've got somewhere I need to be. She looks at Royal and... I don't suppose you got half an hour, have you?
What the hell? I think...
Could you do the... And she does the sort of... That pokes herself on the nose and then points across the room.
I think we have to get going kind of soon.
Oh, all right. I was just thinking about getting some fancy dinner. Well, never mind then. And with that, as you guys begin to get ready to get going...
I'll bring you some leftovers from the party if we can sneak them out.
Oh, lovely. Love a bit of that. All right. And with that, I think we'll let you guys do the finer details out of session. And we'll see that heist next week. But I think there is where we will come to an end. And we will come to the MVPs, as is tradition. Let's go in reverse order today. Stevie, did any particular moment or...
Oh gosh, it absolutely has to be the Aster not understanding the sending and thinking it's a ghost in his room. That was fantastic.
Oh, the Hallow scenario was great. Yes.
Oh man, that cracked me up.
Again? Yeah, same. I'd say Aster. I enjoyed that character moment is just leave and go back in. It was fun. I liked it most certainly.
Eli?
Somehow the fact that the default unit of measurement in this campaign has defaulted to halflings.
Fair.
And
yeah.
It just kind of, it started out as a one-off, and then it just kind of persisted through the rest of the night.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I like that. Duff?
Definitely everyone explaining slavery to Cinder. I think that's just... I loved watching all of the players' face as they were trying to explain it. I find that, like, hilarious. Just because everyone's having to... I just love all of the explaining that everyone who's like semi-familiar with the city has to do to everyone who's not from the city. It's just great.
I'd love to know what's going on inside Aster's head at those moments where things are making no sense, but he seems to be staying quiet on those. Speaking of which, Josh?
Mine is probably Nonnery's mental antics. This session, yeah, definitely, definitely that.
Trill?
As an extension of that, yes, I am enjoying July trying to teach Nonnery the importance of consent in various ways, and how poorly that is going so far, with no help from our new children friends.
Yeah, I think I had a few little notes here. I loved Eli's, or Rufus, I guess, description of Hot Fingers' questions to you being an icebreaker session. I'll never get tired of A-Game just going, I turn blue. And then no context given. But in terms of A-Game's moments, I particularly liked I'm feeding right now. That was just creepy and really cool. And also asked us, I've got lots of Star Treks, which one is it you wanted to see? In the middle of the street, while Eli's trying to be really subtle and really quick. And he's like, I can surround them, engulf them, I can make things go up, down, light them up, and you can just see Eli's a player going, what? So yeah, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, that is where we will end. I hope you guys had a fun session. It's a bit late for us to be raiding, so I think that's where... Oh, never mind. As I say that, I notice that somebody is on. We're going to be visiting the World's Guild. The World's Guild are a D&D channel, as expected. So please come along and give them some love and say hi. I believe they're only on episode 2 of the Hounds of Hirsam. So grab your raid call and grab your sub raid. We are indeed. Well done, Darth. That's good counting. Regardless, if you guys would like to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
We shall see you soon.